Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Selling Toronto. It's your man Pete Lee, and today we're going to be talking about the 6 reasons why you should not buy real estate. And I know I'm going to get a lot of flack and a lot of backlash from people in the industry because it may sound to them that I'm trying to be the anti-promoter of real estate. That's definitely not the case. I know everyone should be buying and owning some sort of real estate because it generates wealth for you long term, and that's what we're going to talk about today, right after this, guys. Today we're going to be talking about something a little bit out of the ordinary. It's not something that I think a lot of agents would really actually want to talk about, but I felt that it was necessary, especially considering the clients that I was just working with. But today we're going to talk about when people are not really necessarily ready to buy real estate, but they still kind of force their way into it and they push their way into it, maybe because their friends or their family are doing it. So I'm going to get right into it, guys. Obviously, this is a big one. If you don't have the financial capability or the financial ability to buy real estate, buying any sort of real estate is very expensive. Just because you have enough for the down payment, like a 5% or 10% or something like that, doesn't mean that you're ready to buy real estate, because there's a lot of other closing costs that become involved in it as well too. You got to pay a lawyer, you got to buy insurance, there's a lot of other things that are attached to buying real estate. So you actually have to be financially ready, and it takes time to actually build up that kind of capital. You have to work and you have to save and you have to be really disciplined for a really long time. Number 2, this one is obviously a really big one for young people, especially those that are starting out and haven't been working for a long time. Employment stability is incredibly important. If you're jumping around from job to job every single year, you're working on contract, or the employment prospects are just not so great for you, I don't necessarily recommend buying a house or buying a property. I mean, I know in a minority of people that actually works out for them, because it forces them to save their money, it forces them to find a way to pay the mortgage and all the other expenses involved. But at the end of the day, it costs a lot more to buy a property and carry it every single month instead of just paying the rent. Number 3, lifestyle considerations. Lifestyle considerations are so important. If you think that you're actually going to be traveling a lot or moving around, I don't recommend it. I don't recommend you jumping in and sacrificing certain things. Like, for example, if you bought a property but now you can't afford to do upgraded courses to advance yourself and to become better at your job or your business or whatever, then I don't recommend that. Okay, guys, you obviously need to invest in yourself first, right? You are the golden goose, and in a way the real estate is kind of your golden egg. Okay, but you're the goose. Okay, don't forget that. Number 4, most of the time people don't actually do something until they absolutely need to. Okay, so generally real estate is bought and sold because it's a lifestyle thing. Like you need the space, you have a growing family. Unless they're investors and they're really trying to think ahead, generally speaking, a lot of people are not buying real estate unless they absolutely essentially need to. There has to be a genuine need. It can't just be a want. And another point I should make here is also utilization as well too. So you got to make sure that you're buying something that actually sort of suits your needs to live in, right? Like if you're a single guy, even though you can afford to buy a big detached house in Vaughan, it doesn't necessarily mean that you should, right? Because you don't need all that space. Like it's just, unless it's purely for investment reasons, but unless you want to be like Steve Jobs sitting on a mattress in the middle of the room with no furniture, then I don't really recommend doing that. Okay. Number 5, and this one is absolutely huge because the market is just so active. There's so many transactions, there's so many buying and selling going on right now that everyone's involved in the game, right? Everyone and their aunt and uncle and grandparents and cousins, everyone's involved in this, right? So peer pressure, this is a really big one. Obviously it becomes a very hot topic for conversation. It's something easy to talk about. It's something that you can discuss with anyone. Everyone has an opinion about real estate, right? Or their own personal experience. So don't fall into the trap of following what people are doing. Just because your friends or your family are buying and selling real estate, it doesn't necessarily mean that you should as well too. Think again, assess your situation, see if it's the right fit. If you need to, talk to a realtor, talk to someone that that you can trust, talk to your financial advisor and really assess whether this is the right thing for you to do or not. A lot of times it's hard for people to make decisions for themselves, and so it's easier just to talk it out with somebody, and then throughout the course of that you will figure out whether it's the right fit for you. Number 6, this is a big one too. If you're not mentally or emotionally ready to purchase a property, then I wouldn't do it. Okay, I would step back and say, look, this is not something that I'm really ready for. And I know that it's hard for people like to understand this. It's like, oh, you know, all of a sudden you have somewhat of stable employment, you got some money saved up, and then you got all these other factors like your parents or your friends pushing you to get into the market, or you've got realtor friends who are just sort of saying, you gotta do it, you gotta put your money in, or what are you doing, you're wasting time, you're wasting money. Look, at the end of the day, if you're not ready for it, you're not ready for it. If you're still living in your parents' basement and the only bills that you have to pay for are like your cell phone bills or pet food for your gerbil, those aren't real world bills. Those aren't real things that that are considered real responsibilities, okay? If you haven't had to pay for a car, like you've never had to lease or own a car, there's a good chance that you may not be ready for a house. Now, that's not a direct correlation, of course. You know, generally speaking, if you have not purchased anything that large, you may not be ready to jump in and go in and buy a house. The market is still gonna, in my opinion, still going to continue to go up for some time. And you know, we have some really strong long-term trend indicators. Obviously, the earlier you can get in, the better. I believe everyone should own some real estate, but it's all about timing and when it's actually right for you, okay? Because I've seen plenty of people that have jumped into the market and then had to sell about 1 or 2 years later just because they've been accumulating so much debt. It ended up being so much more expensive to maintain versus just renting or living at home. And so I hope this video was helpful to you guys. Today's video was not really about giving you tips or whatever. It was really just sort of more about, you know, supporting you guys and helping you achieve your goals and not making the wrong decisions, because I've seen it, you know, time and time again, where young people just want to jump into the market. They want to wear daddy's pants, so to speak, and it ends up being a disaster. So I don't want that to happen to you, so that's why you're watching this show, and that's why I'm here to help. So if you guys have any questions, if you're in a similar situation yourself and you need to have answers, or you need to find a way to, you know, fix your situation, by all means, give me a shout on Facebook, leave me a comment on YouTube, and I'd be happy to help you out. Or send me an email or call me as well. Totally up to you. Thanks for watching, guys. This has been another episode of Selling Toronto. It's a different one today, but I hope it was useful and valuable to you in some way. And I think I'm feeling recording in the car. Maybe we'll do this a couple more times. Anyways, so we'll see you guys in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.